Cold Canadian air dives south as we go into next week, and there is a chance that some will see snow and ice. Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice, keeping you up to date on the model trends as we go day by day this week. There is a system to track. We just got to find out what that track ends up being. If you're new to this page, please let me know where you're watching from. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. We will keep you posted as we get closer to this system happening. Here's what the new European model is showing. It shows us being so cold across the south that track may be suppressed to the south, but look how close it gets that snow. This could end up being a snow for areas that typically don't see it, and being too cold and dry for areas that you would typically expect to see snow. That's how wild this system could be. But there's a couple of things to note here. We're in the wheelhouse of about 5 days out from this hitting, Tuesday into Wednesday, right? So as we get into that day 3 and 4 time frame, the global models tend to do a little dance here. So we'll see if they're trending one way or the other. Right now, it's kind of a coin toss. There's about a 50-50 shot that the track of this low gets far enough north that we get some sort of wintry weather across the Carolinas, northern Georgia. But there's also equally of a chance that this thing is so far south that we end up just cold and dry, and areas to the south end up getting some snow. Here's the way the deterministic or operational run of the European wants to paint it today. It shows some snow in South Georgia, a quick hit of some wet snow, 1-2 inches, while it leaves areas to the north in the upstate through Charlotte, around Atlanta, with maybe a dusting if that were to hold true. You flip on over to the Canadian, it is absolutely bonkers with snow. It shows a well-defined, stronger low-pressure system in the Gulf here that sends back a tremendous amount more moisture. It also does not have that jet stream so far suppressed to the south, so it allows widespread snow for millions, right? This would be a kind of epic snowstorm setup for many as it sends in Gulf moisture, as it sends in Atlantic moisture. The time frame on this would be equivalent to what the other models are showing, Tuesday into Wednesday's time frame, but this would be a blockbuster event for the decade, right? I mean, this would send in some big-time snow into areas like Asheville, Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte, Atlanta, and would be a snowstorm that you would talk about for many years, right? The GFS model, at least the operational run of it, shows really this suppressed look. It's got a system, it's got some moisture to the south, but look how far it is. So all the models show something. It's just a matter of what the track of that something is. How far south and suppressed is it? How far north? Now, one thing I've been stressing here is the importance of ensemble forecasting. We do it during tropical weather. You don't just look at one operational model and say, there's a forecast. No, you open the hood up, you kind of look at what we call the ensembles, which is many different variations of the same model. And as I do that for the GFS model, called the Ensemble GFS, it shows a slightly different picture. Look how much farther north the GFS ensembles want to paint that moisture swath here, where yes, areas in the south do get snow, but so do areas that we would typically expect it. It has that moisture penetrating that dry, cold air in a way that gives many more snow Tuesday night into Wednesday, and it keeps things cold going throughout the rest of the week with some energy trying to keep on streaming in. That would paint a more even brush of some snow across the south Wednesday into Tuesday into Wednesday, I should say. So we got to watch that. When I look at all 30 different runs of the GFS, roughly half of them show some form of wintry precipitation on Wednesday. This model even wants to show into Thursday here. So the GFS is a little more Wednesday, Thursday than Tuesday, Wednesday. When I look at all the different European runs, yesterday there were probably 40 to 45 of them that showed some sort of wintry weather. Today there's roughly half. You see here the mean sits somewhere around 1 to 2 inches. So they're not done letting go of snow farther north into Atlanta, Greenville, and Charlotte, the I-85 corridor, but the European, the GFS, definitely trended farther south today. The Canadian says, nope, it's going to be for everybody. In fact, what's pretty interesting here is that the mean of the ensembles, so you take the average of all the different Canadian runs, which is 20 different of them, you get an average of about 4 inches of snow at GSP along the I-85 corridor on the Canadian, where its operational run sits at 4.5 inches. So they're kind of in lockstep with each other, which is, interesting to look at. We'll see if that bears true. If you average out the European model, all 51 different runs of them, the probability of seeing at least 1 inch of snow, just 1 inch of snow, it could be more, but you see the probability is high in the mountains, but it's also a little bit higher when you look at the upstate compared to the coast. It's possible, if the European model were right, that Myrtle Beach would get more snow chance than Greenville, South Carolina. Wouldn't that be something for you snow lovers to see it snowing at the beach but not here at home? Let's look at what kind of NOAA puts together as a winter weather threat in a whole. This is Tuesday at 1 a.m. This is Tuesday at 7 a.m. Notice how some snow chances or some winter weather impacts start trying to crop up in these areas in the south. That'd be southern South Carolina. I-20 south, which is kind of backwards from what it normally is. Then you go into Tuesday evening, it's spreading up to the I-85 corridor. But you see here, as we go into Tuesday night, we've got areas in Columbia that have a slightly higher chance of seeing wintry precipitation than the upstate. And that likelihood still sits, if you look at your key down here, between 20 and 30%. So it's nothing to really write home about. But as you jump into Wednesday, this is when kind of the average of all the different models are showing, hey, along the I-95 corridor, the eastern parts of North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, that chance jumps up to a 40% chance. Being that we're this far out, that's just kind of where we sit right now. And that would continue into Wednesday evening before it would start to fizzle out by Thursday. Simply put, the pattern is there. There is something to watch. We know it's going to be cold. I've got highs along the I-85 corridor around 30 degrees. The I-40 corridor sits around 20 degrees for a high. The lows would be in the low teens in the upstate, in the I-85 corridor. And then you'd have single digits in the mountains. Most of the models here are agreeing that above 5,000 feet in elevation will be sub-zero, -2, -3 degrees. Mount Pisgah, Beech Mountain, Sugar Mountain, higher up the Appalachian chain. And you get into the upper Midwest, we're talking about that as well. Inauguration Day, MLK Day. I mean, we're talking about highs barely getting into the teens in some areas, in the 20s and 30s the farther south you go. In fact, the freezing line, the cold line, there's no escaping it all the way to Florida. So we know it's going to be cold, but is that storm track suppressed so far to the south that it ends up cold and dry for many? It's yet to be determined, but we'll know much more as we get closer.